Hey guys, today's lost sector is Bunker E15 on Europa. There's going to be 3 overloads and 1 barrier. We're going to be playing Arc Hunter today with Assassin's Cow. For our class ability, we're going to be using Gambler's Lodge, so when we dodge our enemies, it will give us our entire melee ability back. Combination Blow, so then when we get melee kills, it will give us increasing melee damage stacking up to 3 times, and Skip Grenades. For the aspects, we're going to be using Flow State. Defeating a jolted target makes us amplified. In Lethal Current, after a dodge, it will make our melee jolt targets. For Fragment, Spark of Resistance, while surrounded by combatants, we take less damage. Spark of Feedback, if we get meleeed, our melee will deal more damage. Spark of Ions, defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. And Spark of Shock, your arc grenades jolt targets. Moving on to the weapons, we're going to be using an auto rifle for the barriers, a 1-2 punch shotgun since this is a melee build, and Leviathan's Breath for boss damage as well as champion damage. Moving on to the artifact, we're going to need anti-barrier auto rifle, Elemental Orbs Arc if you have it. If you have Elemental Orbs Arc and an Arc Shotgun, you would want to take Refreshing Pickups. If not, take Elemental Fury. It makes us deal a little bit of extra damage to champions. Moving on to the mods, on the helmet we're going to have a hands-on mod, so when we get a melee kill it will give us a little bit of super energy back. And an Arc Strand Siphon mod on the helmet as well, for Strand Auto Rifles or Arc Shotguns. On the gloves we're going to have heavy-handed mods, so when we get a melee kill it will create an orb. On the chest plate, we're going to have one of each elemental resistance mod, since all 3 elements are present in the lost sector. On the boots, we're going to have a void weapon surge, since I'm using a void shotgun. Recuperation and better already, just to make the build a little bit safer. And on the cloak, we're going to have a powerful attraction mod to pick up all the orbs in the area when we dodge. Alright, moving on to the lost sector run, there will be an overload right here in this first room. We're going to try to get our combination below stacked up. It will be a bit harder than usual, since there aren't very many adds in this room though. We'll just take what we can get. Alright, now let's take care of the overload. We're going to use 1 lethal current melee and then some Leviathan's Breath ammo. This is a little bit of a harder lost sector today, but if you take it slow and let the robots do as much work as possible, it's not too bad. We'll need to kill all these Vex to go to the next room. Once we kill everything in this room, this doorway will open. Be careful with this room. There will be a barrier in here, as well as a Cyclops and a Minotaur. The Cyclops will one-shot you, and the Minotaur will kill you very quickly. In order to get them to spawn, we will need to kill most of the goblins in this room. I would suggest trying to remove most of the threats in the room before you take out the barrier. Now that we kill this barrier, we can progress to the boss fight. Once we get to the boss room, there will be a couple enemies in here, as well as a wyvern. Mind the wyvern, he will have the ability to one-shot you. Just keep that in mind when you challenge him. The sheer amount of void burst damage will make this boss room very difficult. I did try running 3 void mods at one point, and it didn't really feel like it was helping me too much, so I started using 1 of each. Now that we've defeated everything in the room, the boss will spawn. This boss fight can be extremely tedious, depending on how well you control your ability cooldowns. If you just want to play it slow just to get the lost sector completion, you could actually just hang out here like I am right now. Every time a set of enemy spawns and just let the robots take care of all of them. We're just going to be taking a few shots of Leviathan's Breath at the boss. After that shot, the overload is going to spawn. Where I made a mistake was throwing my grenade at the boss right there. I would highly suggest holding your grenades and your lethal current melees for the overloads. As you're going to see in the video, I will have to hang out in the back of the room for 30 or so seconds to wait for my jolting abilities to come back up, which will cost me a solid chunk of time, making my run about 5 minutes. If you manage your cooldowns better than me, and you make sure you have a grenade and a lethal current melee available, you will be able to breeze through this room much quicker. I ended up losing about 20 to 30 seconds waiting on one of my abilities to come up. Once we defeat that overload, we're just going to go back to the boss. We've been holding our Gathering Storm for this moment right here. We're going to throw it at the boss, and that should be enough damage to proc the next overload spawn. Once again, if you just want to play it safe, you can hang out back here and let all the robots kill all the goblins, and then all you have to worry about is the overload and the boss. While I'm out here dealing with this overload, you'll see in the bottom left corner that the cache code is acquired. The robots actually defeated the boss for me while I was outside of the room. So if you want to take it really slow and only worry about the champions, that is possible. Once you finish, you can loot the chest.